नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स. So I guess that this is our 45th class, and we are almost in the middle or more than middle of the book of the Buddha and his Dhamma, and we have been studying quite a lot the various points pertaining to Buddha Dhamma as Baba Ambedkar has presented in this wonderful book. And today we will be continuing our class from the starting from the section 2 of the part 2 of the book 4. So that's going to be the part that we'll be studying today. And this section 2 is titled as Karma. Okay. And we have studied about Karma or Kamma in the past when we had studied what is Dhamma. And on the page number 243 to 245, we have understood karma or kamma as the law of Kamma. And Baba Ambedkar has gone into details as to what constitute a karma or kamma. And then he has given us a phrase which is very important for us to keep in mind as to law of karma is nothing but the instrument of moral order. And there we have seen that the karma has nothing to do with individuals being born in this class or this caste or this situation or that situation. As Baba Ambedkar says, individuals come and individuals go, but the moral order of the world remains. Okay, and whether the moral order of the world is positive or negative, that depends on the actions of the human beings. So we know that karma and rebirth, they are considered to be very controversial sort of teachings, and wherever people talk about them, it raises a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding. It is because of I think fundamentally what happens is, and as we have seen in the Buddha and his Dhamma, is because people club the rebirth with Kamma. So rebirth and karma go hand in hand when people talk about it. But as we have seen in the Buddha and his Dhamma, Baba Ambedkar has not talked about rebirth and karma together. And this particular part 2, is about how similarities in terminology conceal fundamental differences. So the word karma or kamma is also used in the Brahmanical text, also in the Jainism, and also in Buddhism. So the term looks the same, but there is the fundamental difference. And that difference we have to understand as to why the law of karma or karma theory as given by the Brahmanical text or by the Jainism and Buddhism, how they are fundamentally different. So the karma, as Baba Ambedkar says, in the law of karma, in terms of the instrument of moral order, it doesn't determine the fortune or misfortune of an individual. So misfortune or fortune of an individual is not determined by the karma. And we are going to look into it. The karma, as taught by the Buddha, maintains the general moral order. So if we go back to our previous class and look at the discussion on karma, we can begin to see that how clearly Baba Ambedkar has elucidated the teaching of the karma. And as I said, we have to keep these three things in mind. One is that what Baba Ambedkar has mentioned about or talked about rebirth. not in terms of karma, or karma not in terms of rebirth. And we know that that there is no transmigration of soul, any concept of that in Buddhism. So we have to bear these points in our mind when we reflect on the karma. So let me begin with reading some of the things that Baba Ambedkar has mentioned. So the section 2 begins with subsection 1, which is titled as, is the Buddhist doctrine of karma the same as the Brahmanic doctrine? So that's the question that Baba Ambedkar begins with. And in the verse number 1, he answers like this: there is no doctrine in Buddha's Dhamma which has created so much confusion as this doctrine of karma. What is its place in the Buddha's Dhamma, and what is its significance, which has already been told? Ignorant Hindus, out of sheer want of understanding, say by comparing merely the similarities of words that Buddhism is the same as Brahmanism or Hinduism. So you see, because the culture landscape was such that people shared the same words or same terminologies in the ancient India, that doesn't mean that they mean the same thing. They can mean exactly opposite to what one school was teaching, and that's very much true regarding the teaching of karma. And as Baba Ambedkar says that, people try to say that because the words are similar, people think that the teachings are similar. And in the verse number 4, Baba Ambedkar says that the educated and the orthodox section of the Brahmins also do the same. They do so deliberately to mislead the ignorant masses. The educated Brahmins know full well that the Buddhist law of karma is quite different from the Brahmanic law of karma. Yet they keep on saying that Buddhism is the same as Brahmanism and Hinduism. The similarities in terminology gives them an easy handle for their false and malicious propaganda. So, claiming that these two things are the same things is nothing but the false and malicious propaganda. It is therefore necessary to examine the position clearly. So, the verse number 8. The Buddha's law of karma, however much may be similarity of words, cannot be the same in its connotation as the Brahmanic law of karma. Now we have to be very careful here that the Buddha has said, watch the words, because the words are just signifiers. What we have to understand is what do they connote, as to what do they point out to. And this connotation now we are going to examine, as Baba Ambedkar has given a very logical analysis of what constitutes the Buddha's law of karma. The premises of the two are so widely different, indeed so widely opposed, that the result of the two cannot be the same. They must be different, because the ground on which these two doctrines of karma, one is Brahmanic and one is Buddhist, are based, the premises are so different, and Baba Ambedkar say that opposite to each other, that they will give, if we analyze logically, different results. The principles of the Hindu law of karma may be stated seriatim for convenience. So it's point to point for the convenience. There is nothing logical about it. It's for the convenience of some classes that the doctrine of karma is elucidated. So the verse number 11 clarifies it further. He says, the Hindu law of karma is based on the soul. The Buddhist is not. In fact, there is no soul in Buddhism. So you see that the same, sort of words do not mean the same thing. And that's what we have to understand, that, the karma is used in the Brahmanical Hindu sense, but their sense of karma is completely different from the Buddhist sense of karma. Why? Because in Brahmanism, they believe that there is something impermanent which never changes. It remains as it is. It's not subjected to any change, because there is a soul, and the soul is permanent. That's what is the Brahmanical doctrine. While we have seen and we know that the Buddha understood that there is no soul, there is nothing which can be taken as permanent. There is nothing which never changes. Everything has to change moment by moment. Shanikvad, everything has to change moment by moment. If it is not changing, that means it cannot come into existence. The thing that can never change cannot come into existence. It's not possible. The change is the basic law of the universe. So there is nothing in the world and in our experiences that remains as it is, that is permanent, like soul. The Brahminic law of karma is hereditary. So the Brahmin says that your karma is transferred from one life to another life. Hereditary. It goes from this life to that life, and whoever you are, it has come from the previous life. Now, because we are familiar with this, so with this concept so much, and we everybody cherish some kind of a concept of self, we feel that we might be existing in the past or we will exist in the future. But if we look at our experiences even now, we know that we are changing continuously. There is only the perception of I. Our body is changing, all the time. Our minds can never be constant. They are changing all the time. Everything that we experience changing all the time, moment to moment. So according to the Brahminic law of karma, it goes on from life to life. This is so because of the transmigration of the soul. So you see, the birth, karma, and transmigration, this all taken together in the Brahminical doctrine to serve some interest, some conveniences. But while when we're talking about the Buddhist law of karma, Baba Ambedkar is not talking about birth or rebirth, isn't it? He's talking about the law of karma as it is. What does it mean? So this cannot be true of the Buddhist law of karma. This is also because there is no soul. There is nothing that transfers from this body to that body. This thing can condition that thing, but there is nothing that is transferred from this body to that body. Like, for example, there is nothing that is being transferred from this moment of my existence to that moment of existence. It's affecting that, and we are going to look into that. Baba Ambedkar explains this very beautifully in the next section. The Hindu law of karma is based on the existence of a soul which is distinct from the body. When the body dies, the soul does not die, the soul flies away. But in Buddhism, we have seen that the mind and the body are interrelated. And we have seen the example that, the two sticks kept like this. If one falls, another falls. Why? Because they are codependent. The mind itself cannot, remain independent of the body. Body cannot remain independent of the mind. Therefore, it's called by the compound word of Nama Rupa. This category of Nama Rupa, it's a compound. It's like for the linguistic or for the pedagogical understanding of the thing, the Buddha has said Nama Rupa and then went on classifying Nama Rupa in terms of 5 skandhas. But if we look at it from the experience point of view, we cannot distinguish between body and mind. We can perceive them as a separate, but when we analytically look into that, for example, if we look at the history of evolution, then we see that from the material matter, or from the dead matter, how the living matter has come into being. And that process has been now very clearly understood by the inquiries into the science, inquiries into the very nature of what happens in the cells. It is called the replicative chemistry, isn't it? Because there is a property of replication, and how it comes into being in terms of the chemical reaction, that also has been understood. There is no role for a soul to play into that. The scientists have not found anything which is permanent in our existence. What scientists have found is the process. As Baba Ambedkar says, being is becoming. We are all process. The whole life is the process. There is nothing substance there. One thing leading to that, another leading to that, like that. So when we look at this this thing, that the soul flies away, according to the Brahminical doctrine, the soul flies away. But in Buddhism, there is nothing like that. There is no soul. So what is going to fly from this body to that body? Because you cannot separate the body and mind in Buddhism. Nama, Rupa are inseparable. We cannot say that this is Nama, inseparable from the Rupa. So according to the Hindu law of karma, what happens when a man does a karma is this. his act produces twofold results. It affects the doer, and secondly, it produces an impression upon his soul. So according to the Brahminical doctrine, because there is a soul, now see the contradiction. They say that the soul is permanent, it never changes, it's independent of the body, independent of this thing, but whenever you do any action, it has the effects on your soul. It has the impressions on your soul. That is what is the doctor. See how contradictory that is. Each act he does produces an impression upon his soul. When a man dies, when his soul escapes, the soul is full of such impression. So it's like, you have a chip, everything is stored there, and then the chip get transferred to another body. That's what the Hindu doctrine of the karma is. It is this impression which determines his birth and status in his future life. This Hindu theory is inconsistent with the Buddhist theory of no soul. For these reasons, the Buddhist doctrine of karma cannot be and is not the same as the Hindu doctrine of karma. It is therefore simply foolish to talk about the Buddhist doctrine of karma being the same as the Brahminical doctrine of karma. So we have to understand this very clearly, that the theory of karma in Brahmanism and in Hinduism is completely different from what the Buddha taught as the theory of karma, as the law of karma. And that's what we are studying today. So looking at it from the point of view of the second subsection, did the Buddha believe in past karma having effect on future life? No, see, the past karma having the effect on future life. Okay. The law of karma was enunciated by the Buddha. So it is not that the Buddha didn't teach the law of karma. There is a karma niyam that the Buddha taught. Buddha said that there is a karma niyam, but it's not like what the Brahminical philosophy or Brahminical schools taught at the time. He was the first to say in the history of the world, he was the first to say, reap as you sow. So whatever you are going to do, you are going to, has the effect of that. Okay. He was so emphatic about the law of karma. You see, he's not talking in terms of past life or future life. He's talking about whatever you do. It's just like, if we do something bad, then what happens is that the suffering follows. It's the law. If we speak with, bad mind or if we utter bad words, what happens is the suffering comes. Isn't it? We cannot do away with the suffering. If we act in a way that is not, we can say wholesome. So the law of karma was enunciated by the Buddha. He was first to say, reap as you sow. It's not about, the future life or the past life. It's about whatever you do. For example, if you exercise continuously, you will have a healthy body. If you have an unhealthy lifestyle, then you will have an unhealthy body. It's like that. Reap as you sow. He was so emphatic about the law of karma that he maintained that there could be no moral order unless there was a stern observance of the law of karma. Okay, so we have to believe in the law of karma, because law of karma is, produces what is called the moral order, and the moral of the order of the universe, or whatever is the public order. It doesn't depend on any god. The god doesn't ordain that the society should be that way or this way. It is determined by the karma of the people, by the action of the people. And that is what we have to understand it very clearly, the Buddhist law of karma. The Buddha's law of karma applied only to karma and its effect on present life. Very beautifully, in a single word, it has. You see this jugglery of the past and future and all, we just lose ourselves. But when we follow the way Baba Ambedkar has presented Buddhism, it becomes immediately accessible to us as to what we should do with it. Similarly, what we should do with the law of karma. It only applies to, only to karma and its effect on present life. It has nothing to do with the past life, because you were something in the past. That's why you are like this in the present. Because you are like this in the present, you are going to be this or that in the future. No, that is not what is the Buddhist law of karma is all about. And that's why, the traditional Buddhists are very much disturbed when they read these kind of things. And it's not that Baba Ambedkar has invented this; it's there in the Buddhist texts. There is no invention of Baba Ambedkar here. He has put things logically. He has arranged the material very analytically so that we can know, we can for sure understand what is it, so that we can practice it. We don't get confused. We have that right ditti, samma ditti. That is the purpose of the Buddha and his Dhamma. So you see, there is, however, an extended doctrine of karma. So that was the Buddha's doctrine of karma, where karma as an instrument of moral order, as we have also studied in the past. But there is an extended doctrine of karma. According to it, karma includes karma done in past life or lives. If a man is born in a poor family, it is because of his past bad karma. If a man is born in a rich family, it is because of his past good karma. This is the extended doctrine of karma. If a man is born with a congenital defect, it is because of his past bad karma. This is very pernicious doctrine. So whoever teaches that is very pernicious, very, we will say, inhuman. This is a very inhuman doctrine. So there are so many reasons as to why people, particular person has, any disease or any genetical disorder. There are many reasons, and that can be explained by science. It's not that because they have done something bad, that's why they are born like this. It's a very pernicious doctrine. It's not acceptable doctrine. It's an inhuman doctrine. For in this interpretation of karma, there is no room for human efforts. Okay, then likewise, you see, not to digress, but Gandhi had an opinion that if you are sick, you don't need to go to the hospital because you are reaching you are reaping the karma because your karma is very bad. That's why you are sick, isn't it? So just bear with it. So what is the use of medicine? No, you are reaping what you have done in the past life. So what is the connotation of this doctrine that talks about the past and the future lives is very pernicious. It tries to justify that some people are powerful. It's a justification for the powerful, that we are powerful because we have done something good in the past. You are like this because you have done something bad in the previous life. That is the basis of the Chaturvarna and the Dharma of the Varna system. So you see that, the way Baba Ambedkar has explained it, everything is predetermined for him by his past karma. How is it possible that everything is predetermined? It's not possible to say that everything is predetermined. This extended doctrine is often found to be attributed to the Buddha. So some people attribute this doctrine to the Buddha. Did the Buddha believe in such a doctrine? To examine this extended doctrine properly, it is better to change the language in which it is usually expressed. Because sometimes if we don't change the language to understand something, we fall in the linguistic trap. Okay, so we need to change the language sometimes to inquire into it. So instead of saying that past karma is transmitted, it should be better if it was said that past karma is inherited. So let's not use the language of transfer from here to there. Let's use the language that past karma was inherited. This change of language enables us to test it by the law of heredity. Now we know that there is a law of heredity. So at the same time, it does no harm to the doctrine either to its de jure or de facto connotation. This restatement makes it possible to pose the two questions which could not otherwise be posed and without answering which the matter could not be made clear. The first question is, how is past karma inherited? What is the process? So Baba Ambedkar has, this scientific bent of mind. He wants to know how it happens. If you are saying that, the past karma has effect on the, because of the past karma, you are born like this. Baba Ambedkar is asking, how is it possible? Just tell us, how is past karma inherited? What is the process? And this is what we all should be striving to know. What is the process? How does it happen? So the second question is, what is the nature of past karma in terms of hereditary? Is it an inherent characteristic or an acquired characteristic? What do we inherit from our parents? Starting with science, the new individual begins when a sperm enters the egg. And we all know, basic biology. And we know now from there onwards what happens, how the embryo, this is created. And that's an autonomous process. And we know why this autonomy is there. By, studying, we can study the replicative chemistry and we can know as to why there is an autonomy, why there is what is called the um, you know, autocatalytic processes. So, starting with science, the new individual begins when a sperm enters the egg. Fertilization consists in fusion of the head of the sperm with the nucleus of the egg. Each human being takes its origin from the union of two bits of living matter, an egg from the mother, which has been fertilized by a sperm from the father. That human birth is genetic is told by the Buddha to a Ekha who came to discuss the matter with him. So the Baba Ambedkar talks about that the birth is genetic, and it's true. This all expounded by the science. That our births are genetical because of the genes, isn't it? And how does it happen? We all know. The exalted one was then staying near Rajagraha on the hill called Indra's Peak. Now that Yakha drew near to the exalted one and addressed him as follows. You say, Yakka says to the Buddha, material form is not the living soul. So whatever is material is not the living soul. So says the enlightened one. Then how does soul possess this body? Whence to soul does come? Our bunch of bones and bowels. How does soul within the mother cave suspended bide? Because, under the influence of the soul, the Yakka is, asking this question that you don't believe that, material form is having a living soul. So how does it happen? Like that. So to this, the exalted one replied. So this is the answer of the exalted one. At first, the Kalala take birth and thence the Abuddhe. So, the Buddha has, tried to explain the process of birth by using the terminology of the time. There from Peshi grows. We all know what is Peshi. Cells. Developing as Ghana in its form. So, Peshi takes, the shape. Now in the Ghana does appear the hair, the down, the nails, and whatsoever food and drink the mother of him takes, thereby the man in mother's womb does live and grow. Very simple. There is nothing material about it. This passage of the Buddha can be equated, even if the language is not the same, but can be understood as to how the birth of a human being takes place. So this is a very simple process. Now, study this process that the Buddha explained with the Hindu doctrine. The Hindu doctrine says that the body is genetic, but the soul is not. It is implanted into the body from outside. The doctrine is unable to specify the source. Turning to the second question as to what is the nature of past karma, it must be determined whether it is an inherent characteristic or an acquired characteristics. Unless an answer to this question is forthcoming, it cannot be tested by the scientific theory of heredity. But assuming there is an answer one way or the other to this question, how is it possible to get any help from science, whether it's a sensible theory or senseless theory? According to science, a child inherits the characteristics of his parents. That's what the science says. In the Hindu doctrine of karma, a child inherits nothing from its parents except the body. The past karma in the Hindu doctrine is the inheritance of the child by the child and for the child. It's very childish doctrine. If you look at it, the way Baba Ambedkar has played on these words, inheritance of the child by the child and for the child. Very beautiful use of language. Okay, so what happens? It passes from the child. It has nothing to do with the parents. The parents contribute nothing. The parents contributes nothing. The child brings everything. So this doctrine, this whatever teaching cannot stand the test of science. But such a doctrine is nothing short of an absurdity, as shown by the Buddha. About the Buddha did not believe in such an absurdity. And now there is, I think, a few lines missing here in the verse number 33, but I will try to explain you as to what is it, okay? So I'm going to read it to the end, and then I'm going to come back and gloss over it, okay? So just bear with the reading. Yes, if it were not reborn, but if it were no. Give me an illustration. Suppose, O king, this is from Milinda Prashna. Suppose, O king, a man were to steal another man's mangoes, would the thief deserve punishment? Yes. But he would not have stolen the mangoes the other set in the ground. Why would he deserve punishment? Because those he stole were the results of those that were planted. Just so, great king, this name and form, this namarup, commits deed, either pure or impure. And by that karma, another name and form is reborn. And therefore, is it not set free from its evil deeds? Very good, Nagasena. The king said, when deeds are committed, Nagasena, by one name and form, what becomes of those deeds? The deeds would follow it, O king, like a shadow that never leaves it. Can anyone point out to those deeds, saying, here are those deeds, or there? No. Give me an illustration. Now, what do you think, O king? Can anyone point out the fruits which a tree has not yet produced, saying, here they are, or there? Certainly not, sir. Just so, great king, so long as the continuity of life is not cut off, it is impossible to point out the deeds that are done. Very good, Nagasena. So you see, now, I think a few points are missing here, but we have to bear in mind something that, we have to understand the name and form. And we have seen through the doctrine of Paticca Samutpad as to, what happens, how our experiences comes into being. So how the suffering comes into being, and how the suffering is, can be ended by practicing in a certain way. We have seen that, and we can see it in detail further. So, one name and form conditions another name and form. Just like that, if we are exploiting our bodies, that means our bodies will have a bad effect. If we are looking after a body, our bodies will be good. Just like that, if we are looking after our minds, our mind will be better. So what Baba Ambedkar trying to get it at, putting this passage of Milind Prashna here, is, I think, that this is how the karma is inherited from name and form. That's what, even if we have done something wrong, for example, 10 days back with somebody, then what happens is that, that things, if it is done with the impure mind, then it will produce the dukkha for us and for them. If somebody misbehaves, it might produce dukkha for us, isn't it? So we have to understand this very clearly, that, this doctrine of karma is not easy to understand. It is not, it cannot be, just thought through. And that's why the Buddha says it's sometimes it's very difficult to think about karma. But here we see the way Baba Ambedkar has clarified the karma, at least we can understand what it is and how we have to live according to the law of the karma. So number one is this, that, the Nagasena explains to Milinda as to how the deeds committed by one name and form, what becomes of those deeds. It follows. Just like, if we have seen the game of a billboard, if we hit one ball, that gains the momentum of that another ball, and it hit another ball. You see, so that's how we cannot say that, something is transferred from this to that. It's just like following the effect, like domino. Isn't it? They are separated, but if you hit one bit, the rest of the things fall, just like that. So it is not that there is some karma, X karma, and that term karma get transferred from from throughout the life. It's not like that, or after the life. So what I thought, we will finish this section today. We have another 7 or 8 minutes to go, and I think we can do this very easily. So bear with this now, that we are going to look at the subsection 3, and then we'll come back to the discussion. Did the Buddha believe in past karma having effect on future life? The Buddha's doctrine of past karma is thus in keeping with science. He did not believe in the inheritance of past karma. How can he, having held to the view that birth is genetic, and whatever inheritance comes to the child, it comes through its parents? Apart from logic, there is more direct evidence on the point contained in the sutta called the Chula Dukkha Khanda Sutta. You see, Baba Ambedkar is not an ordinary mind. He's not just, he's reading a lot. He's putting forward the thesis. He's trying to prove it. He's using a very logical mind, but it doesn't mean that he's going away from the Pali Tripitaka or Pali text. He's finding the evidence in the Pali text itself. So he found a direct evidence on the point contained in a sutta called Chula Dukkha Khanda Sutta, which contains a dialogue between the Buddha and the Jains. And let's read this paragraph very slowly. In this dialogue, this is what the Buddha says. Nigantas means Jains. Nigantas, you have done evil in the past. Extirpate it by these severe austerities. Okay. So, let me read again what the Buddha says. Nigantas, you have done evil in the past, extirpate it by these severe austerities. Because we know that the Jains are famous for the severe austerities. Okay. So, every present restraint on body, speech, and mind will hereafter undo the evil doings of the past. Hence, by expelling through penance all past misdeeds, and by not committing fresh misdeeds, the future becomes clear. With the future cleared, the past is wiped out. With the past wiped out, ill is no more, dukkha is no more. With dukkha no more, feelings are no more. And with painful feelings now no more, all the dukkha will be outworn. This teaching commends and approves itself to us, and we rejoice in it. So Buddha approves this teaching of the Jains, that all the past, future, and present karmas can be purified. How? By putting restraints on the body, mind, and speech. And we know kaya, vacha, and body. If we restrain our kaya, vacha and man, body, speech, and mind, we can do away with the past karma. We can do away with, because we don't commit any fresh bad karmas. We can do away with the bad evil doing of the present. By undoing the evil things of the present, we don't create the future evil doings. And if we do that, then what happens is that we no longer feel the dukkha. Very simple. So whatever karma there is so dynamic that it can be done away with. Very beautifully explained by Baba Ambedkar. It's not that the karma is something permanent, that it comes from somewhere and goes to somewhere. It's not like that. You can immediately, if we want, we can change it. As Baba Ambedkar says, that there is always a hope, that there is always a possibility to do good thing in the world. Therefore, I said to the Nigantas, do you know, reverend sirs, whether you had an existence before this, or you were not non-existence? You see. So he asked the Jains, do you know, sir, for sure that you were existing before this, or you were non-existing before this? Nobody knows. No, we don't know that we existed or we didn't exist. Do you know that in a former existence you were guilty or not guiltless of misdeeds? Can anybody say that they know that in the past existence they were guilty or not guiltless? No. Now the third question, very interesting. Do you know that in the former existence you were guilty and not guiltless of this or that specific misdeed? Are we aware of any specific misdeed of the past? No, we cannot be. Secondly, the Buddha asserts that the status of a man may be governed not so much by heredity, but as by his environment. So sometimes whatever is happening to us is because of the environment. It doesn't have to come from the past karma or what we have done in 10 years back. Sometimes the environment is responsible. It's very, very conclusive sort of the section on karma, that if we understand it, we can very clearly see what Baba Ambedkar has tried to say here. And why I am reading it, unlike the other classes where I would generally talk, why I'm reading it sentence by sentence, because I think unless we understand it at its depth, we cannot understand the force of the argument of Baba Ambedkar. So let's read what happens in the Devadaha Sutta. In the Devadaha Sutta, this is what the Buddha says. Some recluses and Brahmins, Samana Brahmana, there are who affirm and hold the view that whatsoever the individual experiences, be it pleasant, unpleasant, or neither, all come from former actions. So all the experiences that we have, they come from the former actions. Hence, by expiation and purge of former misdeeds, and by not committing fresh misdeed, nothing accrues for the future. The misdeeds die away. As misdeeds die away, ill dies away. As ill dies away, feelings die away, and as the feelings die away, all the ill wills wear out and pass. This is what the Nigantas affirm. This is what the Jain says. This is now in the Devadaha Sutta. If it is because of their birth environment that creatures experience pleasure and pain, the Nigantas are blameworthy. If it is because of the environment, and if they experience pain, pleasure, and pain, the Nigantas are blameworthy, and they are also blameworthy if environment is not the cause. Now, these statements of the Buddha are very relevant. How could the Buddha throw doubt on past karma if he believed in it? How could the Buddha maintain pain and pleasure in present life being due to environment if he believed that it was due to past karmas? The doctrine of karma, of past karma, is purely Brahmanical doctrine. Past karma taking effect in the present life is quite consistent with the Brahmanic doctrine of the soul, the effect of karma on soul, but it is quite inconsistent with the Buddhist doctrine of non-soul. It has been bodily introduced into Buddhism by someone who wanted to make Buddhism akin to Hinduism, or who did not know what the Buddha doctrine, Buddhist doctrine was. This is one reason why it must be held that the Buddha could not have preached such a doctrine. There is another and more general reason why it must be held that the Buddha could not have preached such a doctrine. The basis of the Hindu doctrine of past karma as the regulator of future life is an iniquitous doctrine. What could have been the purpose of inventing such a doctrine? The only purpose one can think of is to enable the state or the society to escape responsibility for the conditions of poor and the lowly. Otherwise, such an inhuman and absurd doctrine could never have been invented. It is impossible to imagine that the Buddha, who was known as Mahakarunika, could have supported such a doctrine. So we have seen that this extended discussion on karma, and it's very interesting that Baba Ambedkar has not talked about rebirth based on karma, and we have seen how Baba Ambedkar has talked about rebirth, in terms of rebirth of what and rebirth of whom. And of course, there is no transmigration in Buddhism. The Buddha has not, in the Milling Prashna also, the Naksena answers that there is no transmigration. There is an effect of this on that, like the doctrine of Paticca Samutpad. But there is no permanent soul that get transferred from this body to that body. And the way Baba Ambedkar has conclusively written on karma is so important for us, because it clarifies a lot of confusions about it. That there are these various yonis that we all go through before we get enlightened. Not like that. And that is the beauty of Baba Ambedkar's interpretation of Buddhism, that he has made the Buddhism accessible to us. It is not something which cannot be understood. There is the Buddha, in the Buddhist world, it said that it's very difficult to understand the law of karma, and it's true. It's not easy to understand the law of karma. But if we look at it from the Baba Sahib's clear perspective, or based on the evidences that Baba Ambedkar has produced from Pali Tripitaka, and the logical analysis based on his vast reading of the Buddhist scriptures and some help from science, we can see that the law of karma can be understood, easily. It has nothing to do with the past life or the future life. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the Buddha and his Dhamma. And therefore, I would urge all of you to again go back to the section of karma, which is there on the page number of 243 and 245. Read it thoroughly, and then again come back to this and try to understand what Baba Ambedkar has explained in terms of the karma, and why this confusion arises. So, the Buddhist doctrine of karma, law of karma, is completely different from the Brahmanical Hindu law of karma. According to them, your past birth has determined who you are, whether you are poor or whatever. It has nothing to do with the hereditary. And we know now that the genetics has an important role to play in the diseases, the way we are, and there are environmental factors, there are social conditions. Like, for example, the caste and race, these conditions make people feel bad. They even, make people suffer. So we know, we can look at it from very broad perspective, the way Baba Ambedkar has looked at the karma and can understand it for what it is, that the law of karma is very important to create this world a better world. It's very important, that we do good actions in the world. We do positive actions in the world, so that even if we are gone, the individuals will come and go, but the moral order of the universe, the moral order of the humanity will remain positive. So with this, I end today's this thing and open it up for another 12 minutes of discussion. So anybody would like to comment on or explain anything, please go on.
Definitely, the purpose of the Hindu doctrine of karma is that the person should not rise from his poor and lowly condition.
Very good. So in Buddhism, you can rise at any time. If you make efforts, yes, you can rise any time.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So Buddhism yes. So Buddhism is not a fatalistic or pessimistic thing. You can change your condition if we make efforts. Right?
Yes, yes. They deliberately made this doctrine, it seems.
And we know why they made this doctrine.
Yeah.
So anything from anybody? If there is no comment or any questions or anything to share with the group, we may conclude our class today. Okay? So thank you so much for joining in, and see you in the next class where we are going to study about the ahimsa. So section 3 is on. Yes, Alka madam.
Buddha has denied the theory of Jainism also. Because he said that you cannot identify that you will be doing this bad karma this moment or in future moment. So eradicating all the karmas, karmas of the past and not doing the bad deeds in present karma. You cannot escape from the future karmas, which you are going to do.
True.
Is it like that?
No, yes. What Baba Ambedkar says, that everything that they have talked about in terms of actually Baba Ambedkar says that the Buddha confirms with their sort of understanding that we can extirpate the karmas of the past, present, and future. Okay, so he is saying that they are not like they are not fatalistic, that if this is that is going to happen. What Baba Ambedkar is saying, that it can be our misdeeds can be transformed, they can be changed through restraining body, speech, and mind, right? So restraining body, speech, and mind is the doctrine of the Buddha. So Buddha agrees with that. What Buddha doesn't agree with it is that that anybody can know that who they were in the past. Isn't it? Like I cannot say that I was this and this in the past and I did this misdeed and this specific misdeed.
So he is talking about the past life?
Where?
Yes,
he's saying that he's saying the past in a sense of like I have a past now, right? We will have a future.
He is talking about the past moment or past life?
He's talking about past here, past, not life.
Past moment.
Past moment, not past life.
Okay.
So whatever we have done in the past, it's not that they are going to fructify if we change now. Or we can work on that. Okay.
Yes.
So it is not that we have no agency. We can work on that. So what Baba Ambedkar is saying, that we have an agency. We are not at the hands of at the mercy of karma or God all the time. Or never. We are not at the mercy of any God. We are not at the mercy of karma. We can also transform what the bad deeds we have done in the past by doing good now.
Yes.
Yeah, that. Hello. Hello.
Sir, Dr. Saab.
Yeah, that's very true. Dr. Baba Sahib himself is a biggest example. He rose from a very humble beginning and rose to be the highest position. So Baba Sahib lived in utter poverty and social disability. He himself, with his own efforts, that means his own good karmas, he rose to that position and he elevated the society, not only the society, the nation. The Baba Sahib himself is a glaring example of the past, of the karma. Then one more example that will make this a bit clear. I wanted to highlight what you already told.
Please.
Another example is that of Angulimala. He did commit so many murders. And, that was a bad karma. But he was impressed by the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha impressed him a lot, and he was absorbed into the Buddha's fold. And later on, he committed the good karmas. So all these bad karmas so gradually got neutralized.
Yes.
It is related to the past karma in that life only.
Yes.
That's just I wanted to add to it.
That's perfect. Perfect. There are like these Angulimal, there were robbers, there were man-eaters, there were women in the prostitution. We all were transformed, isn't it? Yeah. So it's not that that's the message of the Buddha, that there is a hope. Buddhism is a religion of hope, that there is always a hope that we can transform.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sahab, and thank you all for joining today, and we will see each other in the next class. Jai Bhim.
Thank you.
Jai Bhim.
Jai Bhim. Thank you so much.